Hi, today I wanted to talk about what writing a book taught me about perfectionism. Now, I wrote a book called The Multilingual Patrician Learning to Learn Languages, and as the title mentions, it explains how to learn languages more efficiently, easier, faster, and so on. Now, the book itself is available on Amazon. You can find the link in the description, but it's also in the School of Life as PDF version ebook included. And honestly, I have to say that writing a book was easy actually. And the biggest lesson I learned from writing this book, which is not really the first book I started writing, I had other books that I ended up writing, wrote over 100 pages before in my life, but this is the first one I'm publishing, in fact. And all it took was to spend a couple of hours on weekend afternoons smoking on my balcony, sipping coffee, and speaking my mind. Like, it doesn't take a genius to do this. You simply just speak your mind, write down what you think, and then afterwards you just go ahead and correct if you end up making any mistakes or want to make a little bit of change. But that's really how you just solve the blank page anxiety, so to speak. Like, this is nothing really out of the ordinary. However, one last thing was that when I had to really edit all that type of stuff, I really made sure to be in conformity with what's expected of a professional book. And how do you do that? Well, you search on the internet and you kind of think, okay, how do the books I have read in my lifetime look like? What are they shaped like? And then you just adapt to the industry standards. And that's really about it. It doesn't take a genius to implement the methodology of that either. So that's really it. Life shows you that sometimes you mystify things when you shouldn't. And society teaches you that from quite the early age. For instance, remember when you were at school. When you were at school, you used to see literature from famous authors who wrote best selling books about whatever. It can be Shakespeare or any author of the like, and you always hear your teachers in middle school and so on talk about how this author, when he said the curtains are blue, it signifies how the blue is a metaphor for his state of mind, him being blue, and it's a double meaning, and so on. And regarding that, there's an anecdote from some dude who was 16 years old in 1963 who sent letters to famous authors like Ayn Rand, I recall, and he asked them, look, what's this whole symbolism thing like? Do you really take all that extra effort to make sure that you leave subliminal messages in your books, in every single sentence is perfectly calculated to make sure that they also mean something else? And most authors answered no. And that really speaks to, it speaks about the mystification of the arduous task. The thing that seems really so far out of reach, something that seems extremely difficult, and because it seems extremely difficult, you end up thinking, wow, I really can't do this without making monumental effort. It's just like when you build a business. Clearly, I haven't built a five or even, five, okay, sure, but not a six-figure business. So maybe I'm not the most qualified to speak. Like, I've worked on my own and been an employee for many things, but you see that these companies, when they hire a community manager to post on their social media, the things they do isn't rocket science. And in that same context, writing a book really wasn't rocket science. However, it's still great quality, so I really recommend reading it and leave a review if you're satisfied. and let me know what you think.